Have you ever experienced social rejection within a small group or interpersonally and you knew it just by the look on their face? My name is Vince Baez, and my topic is about nonverbal communication and emotional reactions that a person encounters during social exclusion. I will be speaking on how nonverbal messages can make you feel excluded socially, as well as the power of nonverbal messages and why they are important to understand. Knowing how to approach them will benefit he or she's understanding on why it occurs in specific ways that make you feel excluded or included. I will go over how nonverbal communication differs from regular communication, such as speaking directly to one another. Secondly, the research conducted in the article and how the numbness hypothesis was used. Lastly, how nonverbal communication includes social exclusion and is supported by the minimal group patagram, which I have dealt personally. The title of my article is Comfortably Numb: Nonverbal Reactions to Social Exclusion. The article explains how nonverbal cues contribute to specific behaviors, basically how one reacts emotionally to not fitting in and being left out, thus resulting in emotional reactions to a group or individual. The topics that most relate to my article are located in chapters 2 and 5 of our textbook. Chapter 2 is all about nonverbal communication, which is explained as communicative behavior other than written or spoken language that contains meaning. Chapter 5 relates to the research with the social identity theory, as well as the minimal group patagram. The social identity theory is when one social identity is part of an individual self-concept that is derived from his or her membership in a social group combined with emotional significance attached to that membership. The minimal patagram suggests that even a random categorization of people into two or more distinct groups can produce in-group favoritism and out-group discrimination. For example, being picked last or first for a team based on what others think of you or your athletic ability. Nonverbal communication is made up of tone of voice, body language, gestures, eye contact, facial expression, and proximity. These elements give deeper meaning and intention to your words. Verbal communication is spoken word and does not include the cues involved in nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is the single most powerful form of communication. It is way more important than the actual content itself, which the words itself, because the gestures can come off more sincere than the words being expressed. The researchers' hypothesis revolved around the numbness hypothesis, which states that individuals that are being excluded may not display overt signs of distress, but may lack an emotion and appear lethargic or numb instead. This hypothesis was examined when the researchers did a study on 59 students and engaged them in a study that aimed to find how the participants reacted to emotionally being excluded. The findings included participants who had been excluded reported lower average mood levels, more sadness, and less joy. Another finding that was interesting was that the participants that were being excluded were less likely to engage in affiliative behavior, although they did not seem psychologically withdrawn from the interaction. The findings provides further support to the idea that socially excluded individuals display sadness rather than numbness, given that sadness tends to orientate people inward. I chose to experiment with my football team on how the social identity theory and minimal group patagram are present within my experience. I dealt with social exclusion when I participated in my team's first football practice. When I arrived, our coach announced that there was new members on the team that needed to be assigned to a group. The teams and groups were decided by team captains. When being chosen, I noticed that the members talked negatively about me and other players waiting to be assigned to a team. This made me feel not included and kind of upset. I thought before this experience that I was a good choice, but noticing how the players talked and looked at me made me realize this was not the case. I learned a lot from this article, and one of the most important things that I learned was being socially excluded can really affect how you feel emotionally because their reactions affected my mood and how I felt about myself. I learned that being accepted minimizes feeling sad or numbness in interpersonally communicating with other people or communicating with people in a small group. Also, I learned that nonverbal communication accounts for 90% of communication. When someone participates in social interaction, it is important not only to listen to what the other party has to say, but also observe their actions and mannerisms.